Okay, we're live. I hope that Mary can see me because we've had a mell of a hess getting on here. I'm gonna go up and check. So, hello, everyone. Let's see. Let's give a few minutes to see if others can join us and figure out where we are. I don't know how y'all do it because I'm always on this side. Yes, yay. Woo, I tell you, it is actually sunny outside, but after days of nonstop rain, we've got this wind. Whoops, hold on. We've got this wind that just won't stop. So we kept trying everything and everything. And I even, since we had those blips, Mark said, you know what? Let's reboot your computer just in case. So we're hoping it's working. Oh, thank you, Mark. Mark is boomerang. So as usual, he's always, I gotta tell you, this is funny. Our first date, we went camping for 2 weeks, and I had ruptured my Achilles tendon, so I was on pain medicine and muscle relaxant, so it was a little loopy. But I kept singing "The Wind Beneath My Wings" in not my best voice, but because he just made everything so easy, and he still is 20 years later. So anyway, hello, hello. I know everybody deserves a boomerang, let me tell you. So it's wonderful. So I have gone back and forth thinking I wasn't going to be doing a show today. Even wrote to Miss Lisa and said, help, the internet went out. But it is just so breezy, and branches are falling. And with this wet ground, I'm just worried if it gets too breezy, might have a tree go over the internet or over the internet lines. But I just want to tell you, in case for some reason I go silent, it's not me, it's the weather and the internet. And I do apologize for that. I thought I would show you what I'm wearing today. I'm dressed in honor of Valentine's Day. And this is a necklace I made out of paper beads. And it was from a Lindor truffle bag that Mark got for Christmas, candy bag. And when I saw him, he was getting ready. He was just about ready to crunch it when he was done the other day. And I said, no, 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 no. I saw all of that red foil, and I checked, and it was paper lined foil. Because if it's just foil, you really can't glue it. It is a problem. But this was paper lined foil. So I made myself um I made myself a paper bead necklace out of it. So I am dressed today in honor of Valentine's Day. And for dinner, we're going to have a family classic. I started this, I guess, when my kids were little. Money was tight. So I made a meatloaf in the shape of a heart and put, of course, ketchup all over the top. So that was the red heart. Then I made mashed potatoes and I put red food coloring in them. So pink mashed potatoes and the meatloaf. And that is our traditional Valentine's meal. So I'm just talking right now about miscellaneous stuff, but I've got a lot to show you. But right now, just letting people find us, because what a mess. It was terrible. Checking my hair. But what a mess. But yesterday, Mark and I did monster cooking because I had so many things I wanted to get ready for today's show. But hi, Linda. Hello, darling. Oh, I think everybody's doing pretty well here. Our Melanie had eye surgery. I'm thinking it was probably laser. She had something on her retina, but she's doing good. And but she's probably not going to be here today. She just got to take it easy for a couple weeks. But otherwise, I think everybody's doing really well. How are you, Miss Linda? I don't know if you remember our Linda. She's very special to us. So it is so good to see you. Quite an artist, and I just love her to bits. So I have quite a few pieces around here that she made me, and I just love them. So, okay. So, anyway, so yesterday I wanted to make a clam chowder. And, prices are so high, and seafood prices are so high. And so I had bought 2 cans of clams, baby clams. And in the refrigerator, I had a couple pieces of individually sealed fish, flounder, and cod. And I had some shrimp. And so I made us a chowder. But while we were in there and while I was cutting things up, Mark took over for the heavy duty cutting. We made almost 7 pounds of meatloaf. Because you know how I'm doing this new thing. Oh, you're holding your own. Oh, good, Linda. Oh, good, sweetheart. Well, feel free if anything you make that you'd like to share a picture of, we'd love to have. So, uh-oh. You're so cute, Mary. Boy, did I want that dream home. I entered it once because I've done it where I try to enter it every day and, still don't win. Darn it. Oh, Mary, you're so cute. But um but we made a great big thing of meatloaf with ground pork and ground beef and all the spices. And today, Mark is going to put them in the loaf pans because you know how I've done this new thing of cooking in big bunches and freezing it. We love that plan. We're disappointed with how expensive um, restaurants are, even at just carry out. It's too expensive. So, and we really do feel better when we eat homemade food. So anyway, we got that done. That was probably one of the only really productive things I did yesterday. I was sitting on the couch trying to work on the hand embroidery that we're working on now. I kept falling asleep. I could not stay awake. Do you ever have days where you do that? It just makes me crazy. But okay, so now Bonnie won the gift certificate for the UFO challenge. She did, was it about 8 projects? I mean, she was very busy and devoted. Charlene Lawson came in second place. So I right away sent the gift certificate to Thousands of Bolts, which is one of her favorite stores, and she wrote me an email and said that she already ordered a couple yards. She was low on whites and creams, so she ordered a couple yards, and she said it was so great because she only had to pay just a little couple dollars for extra to make up the difference. So that made me thrilled because we love our Bonnie, and Bonnie has always done so much for this group, and I couldn't be happier. So the patterns, I will mail them out this week. I'm looking for nice little envelopes that'll just fit them. So, because we're going to mail them out media mail and this week, and that keeps it very inexpensive. Then I want to show you this. I've been working on the sparrow quilt, and I got my fabric in from that. I'll show you. I finished this one, so I'll show you that. But, oh, I know what I was going to say. Back up to Miss Bonnie. Miss Bonnie, while I'm trying to do nice things for her, sent me a package in the mail with this. I love this. And I love the age of this. I think the copyright was like 1964. something like that. And I just love this. So I'm going to have very good reference material to make sure I get the correct placement of this fabric, stitches, and give you the correct information for the stitches. So let me put this back over here. So I was working on my sparrow quilt, and because I added sashing and cornerstones, see those cornerstones? And you have cornerstones, you have to have sashing. Well, the original quilt and the fabric yardage didn't call for sashing. So I realized when I got close to the end, oops, I'm not going to have enough blue fabric. And in the past, I've taken little tiny pieces and try to put them together to make enough fabric. But I said, I adore this quilt. It is just such a sweetie pie quilt. So I don't want to take the cheap and easy way out. So I looked around to try to find, I only wanted a half yard, and some businesses won't sell you just a half yard. And I had to find Nantucket. I bought it originally from sorry about my dog's barking. It's distracting me, but Mark's outside. He'll be back in a moment. But I bought the original fabric from Missouri Star Quilts. They didn't have it anymore. So, this tells us, I used to always say, buy a half a yard extra just in case. And I don't buy fabric as much as I used to because I've got such a lovely stash. And, but I needed a half yard more. So I had to look on the internet to see who carried us. It's the Moda Bella Solids Nantucket. And I found an Etsy seller who was selling it by the half yard. So I checked those sellers out, and I always check what are their shipping prices and all of that. But I picked this one, and oh, did I hit the jackpot with this Etsy seller. And here is her business card. It's Create Some Sunshine. Don't you just love the name for her business? Create Some Sunshine. And she's on Facebook, Pinterest. I'm not sure what that little symbol is for, but anyway, I don't do social media. This is it for me. But look her up, because not only she wrapped a piece in tissue with a thank you sticker on it and had it tied in a beautiful, delicate little rib string. She included candy. And as you notice, it's been eaten. Yes, I did. But she included candy. And here is the little mailer. She sent it in, which I can send some folders, patterns back out in. And I had written a little note. I always try to thank the seller to let them know I understand that there's a person there that's doing all this work. So I wrote, thank you. Don't you hate it when you run out of fabric to finish your quilt? And she wrote me a note back. Is that too cute? So I gave her a 5-star rating, thanked her more than anything. So just remember, her Etsy site is Create Some Sunshine. And she was very fast with shipping, just delightful. When I open a package and it's been mailed, so pretty. I mean, I love it. That's a winner for me. So I want to thank Miss Alicia. She's a doll baby. I'm looking out the windows. I'm very easily distracted, as you know. And I'm looking out the window, and little buds are coming up on some of um, the bushes that are early to leaf out. So although honestly, I used to hate winter in my younger days. Now I love it because I love the long nights. It gives me just hours and hours to work on stuff. But, all things have to end. So All right, so I told you about how wonderful the seller was that I bought my extra half yard of fabric. And she, even the way she folded it. I mean, how cool is that? So I finished my woven heart table runner, and I put it on I put it on my long arm and got it finished, because that's my new thing. I was telling someone at the Myrtle Beach Quilt Party how 2 years ago I did 36 projects. That's too much, and I didn't finish any of them. And now I'm trying to slow down and get things finished. So let me show you the heart. You can see how I quilted it. Whoops, turn it straight, Deb. I did the traditional quilting method for the squares. Then look what I did to finish off the shoulders of the heart. I did elongated hearts. I thought that was cute. So, and then for this one, since it's just a table runner, I did a very dense background quilting, just loops and hearts, and I did it very densely. Now, remember, I just used from my stash, and I used muslin, just good old muslin for the background. And I also did muslin for the backing. But here, let me show you. This side will show you better what the quilting ended up looking like. Whoops. Let me turn it around. Let me see if this might make it worse. It might make it easier to see. There we go. So you get a chance to see it. Love quilting table runners. I got it done couple hours one evening and finished it up the next morning in a couple of hours. Takes longer with something this small. It takes longer to load it on the frame and it took longer to do the binding. I just did a simple red binding, and on the corners, I'm sorry for those dogs. On the corners, I just did a little tucked corner because, it's not going to be entered to show or anything. And just did little tucks on that. And you do just a simple slip stitch, which I'm really tickled. I don't think you can see the hand stitches. Believe it or not, I do better hand sewing than anything else. Hand sewing is my thing. That is my, what do they call it? Magic power. And the funniest thing about that is I used to always say, I am not going to hand sew. Just like I always said, I'm not doing hexagons. Just like there's been plenty. I haven't done the hexagons yet, but I always said, I'm not going to do hand applique. Now I love it. Be careful what you say you're not going to do. I had put in an order to get some little paint cups. So I got in some more of this wonderful seaweed color ribbon, because we are going to go back to the undersea quilt. We are going to go back. And now let me see. Okay. I was working earlier today on let me find the page. Everything gets very confused it's a little fold. Oh, here it is. And I will scan this when I finish the show, put it on our groups IO. But remember, I drew out a pattern for our thin strip, for our narrow strip quilt. So here's the pattern I drew. I have decided, like I thought I would, to enlarge it. So what I told y'all to do, because this is free, this little drawing I've done is free, but what do you do to enlarge it? And I will put the enlarged pieces. But what I did, normally I tell people to fold it into 16 squares. What I did is, since I've done it so many times, is I just folded it into quarters. And you think I should pick out a few small puckers on the back of my quilt and hand stitch the spots. Yeah, I tell you what, you can get puckers so easily, and I'm sure I've got them on that. So, oh, you found a bug inside the bathtub. I was in the shower a couple weeks ago, and there was one of those long-legged spiders, a young one, inside the shower. So I just moved back, took my shower, washed him down the drain. Because I'm sorry, you can be outside all you want. Spiders, no, not in my house. So, although where I feed my birds, there was this little spider that would hang out right behind the bookcase. And I got tickled by that one. So I left it there for a while. But it would kind of come out and look at me when I would feed the birds. And it's one of those, you can't really see the eyeballs. They're just all legs, you know. But I hear they can bite too. So I forget the names of them. I think I do it personally because I just don't like spiders. So although I've in the past been known to have a tunnel spider on my porch that I actually carefully touched one time. That was a long time ago in my young dumb days. I forgot to show you when I am talking about how I used the Lindor pretty red, shiny metallic wrapping. I brought down a couple strips to show you how I did it. So, okay. So here is, in fact, you can see the writing information from the package. And I carefully opened the package along the seams and smoothed it out. Then I took and I made strips of it about 2.25 inches. That's all you need to roll a bead. Okay, so then I glued it on junk mail. This is some junk mail that came in the house. So I glued it on. Then once I glued it, then I took and just cut the strips. And I bought a dogs. Dogs. I took and I bought a paper cutter, but honest to goodness, I would rather cut the strips by hand. So they're never perfect, but that's okay. So let me, whoops, sorry about that. Didn't mean to hit the camera. But I'm hoping this glue, I might have to get another one. I tried using the one with the least in it, but it might have dried up. So let me get another one that I know will work. Now, normally I use the inexpensive school glue, but in this case, I'm going to use the tacky glue, which is more expensive. But anytime this end flap has to stick to that film, and which means it's going to be a wee bit harder to do when you get, it's just that last little bit, because the final bit has to, this side of that foil was paper, so that's good, but even that paper has to end up sticking to foil. So this is one of the bead rollers. It has a slot in here that you put the paper in. And the woman, Jilly, I think is her name, who made this, she lives in England, and she decided to stop making or selling this bead thing. So she says now, I think she had a few of the tips, but you'd have to get your own handle. And but there's lots of bead rollers, but I love this because it's so ergonomic. It fits in my hand. So that's how easy it is to roll a bead. And since I already glued this one, I'll show it to you again. So you take this slit, put it over the edge of the paper, and kind of hold it as you start to roll it up, because you want it to stay seated in that slit so you can pull it nice and snug and straight. And here we go. I make sure to spread that glue over the end just a touch, because if it's had a chance to dry up a little bit, it improves the adhesion for that. Sometimes when you're making a foil bead, you might have to hold it a little bit. Whoops, hold it in place to really let the glue sit. Now you'll notice I get sticky fingers when I do this. So it gets a little bit of glue on the bead, but with this foil, the nicest thing is you can just rub it right off. The glue doesn't. That's why it's hard to do that last little wrap. But there you go. So now let me put the top back on the glue so this one doesn't dry up. But now what I do, I usually let these, pardon me, get all the glue bunnies. And here's once again. Okay, so then I take my paper scissors and I lay them flat. See how I kind of just rest it right there? And then I go around and I trim. And I trim to make sure that it's a good solid straight edge and that the decorative paper comes right to the edge of that bead. So see that? Now here, see how it looks a little messy? Just lay the scissors there and just go around. I do this at night when I'm watching television. Last night I had my nightgown on and my chest and tummy got full of all these little cuts. Because see now how nice and neat. How nice and neat that looks. And then if you want to, you can take acrylic paint and dip it in matching red paint to hide the edges. But in this one, I'll show it to you one more time, just how easy. Now, if you're having a hard time getting that edge to really adhere, just take and run your fingernail over it. That helps a lot. But with this one, you want to make sure, sometimes you kind of have to push down a little bit. You want to get that inside white paper to make it nice and even. And you want the end of the bead to be nice and square. Sometimes I just have to push down a little bit on it. Because you want to get that underneath paper. Even though if you're going to dip the ends, it's not as big a deal. But so now I have two, even-ended, because they're not the same size, but that's fine with me. It's up to you if you want to make them exactly the same size. And then I like putting mine on elastic, the bead stringing elastic, and there you go. So very, very, very simple. Just thought I would show you that very quickly. Because I go through phases. I don't know about y'all, but I will be doing crocheting for a while. Then all of a sudden I decide I'm tired of crocheting. So then I switch over to one of the others. I'll switch over to paper piecing, or I'll switch over to hand sewing. And you know what I've been wanting to do lately? I've been wanting to do hand quilting. That is something with my arthritis getting so bad. My hand quilting days are probably shrinking a little, so maybe that's why I want to do some more hand quilting. And if you see me rubbing my hands, you probably know this too, because so many of us have the osteoarthritis. But, rubbing those hands to keep them from stiffening up, they get so sore. But anyway, I'm going to probably next week, next Sunday, I'm going to bring out my hand quilting stuff and show you a little, because I've shown it. I've got several videos where I've talked about it, but I think every once in a while it's really good to see it again. And I love to go on YouTube and type in hand quilting and just watch people do it. It's fascinating. So, okay, now the next thing I have on here, yes, I'm going to show you how I do the enlargement and of that landscape pattern. Then we're going to work on our 3D hand embroidery. Boy, have I seen some amazing ones this week. And then I'll show you how I've been organizing my floss. Right lately, I think I told you this last week too. I feel like I'm trying to work hard, but I'm getting a little behind her. I've got to tell you, with Mark retiring, it has been a transition. It's been very different than I thought it was. So, first, when he started talking about retiring, that gets scary. Even though I've made that decision myself, and I'm doing fine. I've got good retirement, thank goodness. Good lawyers make good retirements. But I'm doing fine. But when he talked about retiring, it's a little bit scary all of a sudden. It's like you start thinking, well, if we have to put a new roof on, and I guess it's the knowing you have a fixed income that feels a little scary. But in truth, he never got, he couldn't get overtime. Now he often got awards, very often, because he does such good work. But you can't bank on that. So that was the first worry. Oh my gosh. Then the second worry was he's going to be here all the time. When do I get a day just to myself to do nothing or whatever I want to do? And so that was a worry. Well, we've worked through that, and wondering, oh, I need some downtime, some quiet time in my own head. What am I going to do? So there were all these concerns. And there were times when I woke up, I just wanted a quiet wake up. Well, he's already been up a couple hours because I stay up later than him. And he would just start talking right away. And I'm like, I can't focus yet. But it's all worked out. And now it's exciting. For me, it's like having your best friend all the time you want, and you plan these fun things. What are we going to do today? What are we going to do today? And one day, I'm trying to think I forgot what the meal was, but we decided, let's eat our dinner at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and then just snack through the day. Well, that was fun. I mean, I know it sounds silly, but it's being able to do whatever you want to do. And so the other day we decided to eat early again. And I said, let's close all the shades and watch a movie, just silly stuff that gives us a lot of pleasure. So if you are at the stage where you thought, oh no, because I've heard stories, women saying, he's got to find something to do. He's just driving me nuts. But we made agreements, like he's mostly in the living room with the big TV, which means he's watching all his man stuff, which I don't really care that much about. Old World War II documentaries and all kinds of racing. And so now Monday, that room and that TV is mine. So you just kind of have to set up, okay. Or I'll say, I'm not up to talking yet, you know. And I'm sure he's going to have mornings. Trust me. In fact, before I got on here, he's like, just imagine yourself when we go on a trip and you're talking to me. Because for whatever reason, when we get in the car to take a trip, I just start talking. Drives him nuts. So anyway, but I just wanted to tell you, we're 2 months, not even 2 months in, a month and a half in, and it's really going well. It's different, and you have to get used to that, but it's going really well. Let me do something really quick. I've got the heater on over here, and it's about to run me out now. Luckily, that little heater has a remote control. I mean, really. So, you're probably right, Mary. And in fact, he's already started to pull out some of his electronic projects. So, and that's nice. I like when he has a hobby and he gets into something. So I have been trying for years to get him into hobbies. And here, me with my zillion hobbies, I mean, I don't think I've met a hobby that I don't like, except knitting. That's just too much. Two hands can't do it. But I had to put an order in for more paint cups. And if you look around, you can find these pretty cheaply. And what I love about these paint cups, boy, with my hearing aids on, that cellophane is loud. But, oh, speaking of hearing aids, I've gotten in the shower twice, leaned back my head to wash my hair. And he just walked past the window, leaned back my head to wash my hair with my hearing aids in. Had to carefully jump out and put them on the sink. And like, luckily, the new style hearing aids are pretty water resistant. But and go to bed all the time, and they're in my ears. Now, if you remember me talking about hearing aids, this is quite an improvement because the old hearing aids I had made my ears itch all the time. These new ones, I put them in and I forget they're there. Once in a while, I'll find myself pushing it back into my ear canal because I have tiny little ear canals. But anyway, it's the only thing tiny on me. But here is one of the little paint cups, a hard plastic cup, but a softer, more rubbery lid, which when you put on there, it is on there. And what with the dot painting that I love doing, I you only use a little bit of paint, and so you end up putting a lot of paint in these cups. So, but that was only a few dollars, so that's the good news. So, oh, and I, oh no, adopt stray cats. Oh no. Isn't that cute? I just love it when men do something like that. You collected water bottle caps for paint cups. I love that. With me, I want to save it so hopefully I amass enough that I don't have to mix them every time. And that new paint I bought from Jerry's Artorama, very, very good. I love it. It has made doing these dot paintings more vibrant, more exciting. But I have about 6 things I love to do, and I kind of rotate them through. I heard Kate Jackson from the last Homely House. She does the same kind of thing. She can only work on one thing for so long, and then she rotates. She knows she'll always come back, and so that's really good. 6 right now. Whoa. I've heard of cat ladies, but not cat men. But hey, welcome to him. Oh, you dear heart. Let me run back up and see all who's here. Monkey Mary. Now, Marcia was the first one last time. Then Mary was right on time to get the first one this time. Joe So's. Thank you, Joe, for all your support. You are so good at when I come on and I have a problem, I see you talk it out, you'll say, well, what are we going to do? And all that. I love that. So thank you. You're a natural born moderator. And so let's see who else. I just love seeing all of your names here. How wonderful that Linda stopped by to see us. Monkey Mary, your HDTV comment was so funny. There was, years ago, probably about 17 years ago, there was an HDGTV house that was in Asheville. And I thought, if I win that, I'm turning it into a quilt retreat. And I would have loved to have done that. So, but I didn't win. So my dogs are just not shutting up, those 2 little ones. Anybody want a poodle or a Shih Tzu? So, I'm losing. I might have missed a few people, so I do apologize. Okay, now I'm going to show you real quick before we start into the 3D embroidery, which is turning out to be more fun than I thought. I'm going to show you how I enlarge the pattern. Oh, and here's the sweet card that our Bonnie sent me when she sent me that embroidery booklet. And in fact, so I can move it, I just thought I would show you that I have just about finished organizing all of my flosses, and I'm going to do make sure I put them in the right order. I don't know how long they'll stay that way. You did. That's wonderful. My gosh, Dolores, that's great. Oh, there's our Bonnie. And so I'm getting them organized, and you'll see the numbers are written on them. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Okay. But that's nice to have them. It's nice instead of letting them be in a bag and get messy. It's nice to have them organized. All right. So now I'm going to bring your camera over here, show you how I enlarge a pattern. Then I will show you the inspirations. Oh, I just had this. This is my pattern for the woven heart. Okay. So my original is right here. I've enlarged this, this, and this, and all I have to enlarge is the last quarter. So let me show you how I do that. Now I write on them page 1, although I should have written that in marker, but here's page 1, so that when you get this, you can lay it out. Now, page 2. All right. So what I do is when I enlarge these, I always use the same pattern to enlarge them. I do page 1, page 2. Then there'll be a page 3 and a page 4. So it always goes clockwise. All right. So then what I do when I get these 2 pages done, I place them together. Let me move a little closer so you can see it. Okay. Whoops. Stop bouncing. All right. I put the pages together like this, and I draw a circle that goes over the seam. A circle here. And that way you know exactly when you have it. Okay. And I draw that circle at one point in time. So you know, I didn't draw half and then draw another half. I drew the whole thing so you know when those are put together, you've got it. And then what I do, so after, if you want to use these enlargements, after you print them out, what you'll do is you'll put them together like this, and you'll tape the back, tape them together. And that way you'll have, you'll put the whole pattern together. So page 1 and page 2 is done. And then page 3 is done. Okay. Now, don't worry about, you don't have to draw any of this. This is just to kind of remind you tree leaves. Okay. And I'm probably going to do confetti on those. So we'll do a few different techniques. But the first thing we're going to do is put these are going to be narrow strips that we sew together to make the pattern. So all of these other things are things that will applique on once the main pattern is made. The sun and stuff we're going to try to work into the fabric here, maybe some of the clouds, but the leaves and the birds, that all goes on later. The grasses will go on after it's fully pieced together. The bird will go on after this is fully pieced together. Okay. So now I have page ready for page 4. Page 4 is the last piece. Now you see here was page 3, and you see that I did an exact copy of this, but larger. Now I'm going to show you how we do it. Now, if you're new to this, then you'll see where I had one time folded it here and folded it here. Because if you're new to this technique, it's usually better to do it in 16 pieces. Because that way, what the point is, you would take this, fold it in half again, fold it in half this way, fold it in half over this way, then down, then over. And you would have 16 pieces here, 16 pieces here, So in this little section right here, you would draw um, this, you just do that little square. For this now, I'm doing it in quarters. Okay, and I like to always start with a pencil because if you notice, I have to do a lot of drawing and I don't erase until I'm sure the ink is fully dried. But then I'll erase those pencil lines so I end up with a cleaner copy. Before I scan these into my printer and put them on the site, I'll have the pencil lines erased. And you notice I only use white erasers so it doesn't leave any dyes on the drawing. All right, so here I'm going. This is my 1/4 of the finished thing. 1/4, okay? And then, I'm going to try something again. Okay, so here is 1/4, and here, this is folded in quarters. So this makes it easier. You just draw. Whatever you see on here, you draw it on here. So I see up near, let me get in a little closer. Okay, so I'm seeing on this that up near the top, it has a little wiggly line that's probably wave lines on. Now it might be getting too dark. Let me try it. Sometimes when I try to add light, it makes it worse. So we'll see. Okay, so I have a wave line here. Then there's another wave line here. And see, what you do is you go, okay, how much? This is up in the top quarter. So you go, oh, okay. If you want to divide, you can even divide the bigger paper into quarters, whatever it has to do to show you where to put the next thing in. Then here is part of a cloud or water. I think these are water shadows. Now, show up here is where the sun is coming across the water. So I look at this length and say, here's half, here's 1/4. So about 1/3 of the way, I start drawing. This is where the sun has cast out onto the water. So now I come over here and I finish this one. I do this one and I do this one. Okay. Now, over near this edge, I've got to draw the other side of this dock. So I'll come up about, it's just above a half. So about right here, the boards come up. Then there's going to, just above a half, just checking. I also keep a ruler around because if I want to know a half of this, this is 11 inches, so half is right here, 5.5. All right, so I'm doing pretty good there. Then I'm going to have this come up. And I think I need to move this shadow line. But I've got this coming up. That's the post on the dock. Then it's got a rope around it. So I'll put that there. Then this line right here, it's going to come, it's not quite, okay, half the way this way. 1, 5.5. Oh, this way is different. This is 8.5. So 4.25 from this edge is halfway. So here is halfway. Okay. So that helps me figure out, okay, here's the halfway point. This edge of the dock is not quite halfway. So I think I'm pretty safe to come here, but now move this halfway point down to here. This part, you see, here is the halfway point. So this dot comes a little over halfway. So I just come in here and I draw it like this, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and erase. Don't erase your mistake lines until you've drawn in the correct one. And so then there's this one right here, which is, it doesn't come up to halfway. Here's halfway. So about right here. Okay, and it comes down to this point. It has a rope around it, the base of it, and it has a rope along this edge. So I just kind of make these, and remember I said I'm going to use some real part of a piece of cotton rope. And then it's just a matter of using my ruler, make it easy on myself, and drawing the lines of the dock. And due to perspective, the lines get wider closer to you than they are at the edge of the dock. So you just kind of knowing that you're leaving a bigger gap at the bottom than at the top. And this will show, the beautiful thing about this is it shows distance. It shows depth. See that? See how I did the lines? Now, so I've gotten, part of the bird's supposed to show through here. So I'm just going to put a little bit of the head and beak, even though it's on the other one, just to let you know. You can decide. I did the whole bird here, but I might come back. All right. So now I've got this. And this one, this looks a little too tall, so I'm going to draw it a little shorter. I think that just feels better. This one is too wide, so I'm going to bring it more narrow. This one may be a little bit wider. Since it's closer to you, it's going to look bigger. So see, I do all of these little corrections, and that's just fine as long as I erase them to make it look neat and tidy. All right. So now I've gotten this all. I've got to fix this one. And it's okay. All right. So now I put that extra thing in right there. And you know what I can do is then when I get ready to put it here. Oh, I see. These I did actually too low. It's too close to the bottom. So I need to make it, when I put them together, I'll make those line up. Okay. So now I just come in and I put some of these great dune grasses, water grasses in here. But it looks like I'm doing one this way, another one this way, another one this way, another one this way, and one coming up behind. So I know these are going to be dune grasses, and I can do the dune grasses in when y'all aren't here waiting. So now, what I'm going to do now is bring page 3 and page 4 together. Let's see how closely. The dock didn't quite line up, so I'll probably have to touch that up. But I'm going to put page 3 and page 4 together. And then I'm going to draw the registration marks. And for this one, I just thought, let's just do a circle. That's pretty easy. And you see how I do them right when I do the whole circle at the same time, so you know it lines up. Then I'm going to come up here and put page 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And so then now let's line it back up. See how our dock is doing. So I'm going to bring the dock out here a little bit more. Okay. All right. And so then what I do, and I don't have to do all of, whoops, that's a little too big. Okay. And I bring that rope back around here. So I just go over it with the marker. And, oh, here started, there we go. All right. So I just go over this with the marker before I print it, just so it shows up. It makes it more clean and understandable. And okay, like that. So then I just go over it all, and now you have a pattern. So now what I'm going to do next is decide how many strips do I want, because we're doing narrow strip landscaping like this. So this one is 31 by 40. Ours is going to be 16 by 22. So I'm thinking, do we want to do, y'all, this is a good place. Well, what happened? Oh, yeah, but the silky, that's wonderful. How wide, if I'll show you. It's going to be this long. Whoops, nope, let me go back. Whoops, the wrong way. All right, it's going to be 2 pages long. You notice when I make patterns, I try to make them correspond to printer paper, because if I do that, then I know you can print it without going and buying something special. And I always worry about that. But what I'm thinking, if it's going to be this long, whoops, don't lose that pen behind my desk. All right, if I make it this long, how wide or thin do we want our strips? Now I'm going to look on my ruler. 1 inch is too much. Let's say we make it a ½ inch. Then we're going to cut our strips 1 inch, because you have a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So, but to mark this, let's start marking every ½ inch. So what I'm going to do is come down the edge. And this will already be on it, so you don't have to do it. I want you to spend your time picking colors, picking effects, picking embellishments. That's what I want you to do. So on this side, I'm going to mark every ½ inch increment. Now remember, if it's a ½ inch finished, then it's 1 inch cut. Because of the 1/4, we're either going to fold under, or remember I talked about quilt as you go, flipping and stitching, and we're going to be stitching on the muslin, the batting, and the backing. This works out perfectly at ½ inch marks. And this one should also work out. Now, all I need to do to draw these lines, all I need to do is to just keep marking the ½ inch over here. And I want to show you, because I want you to fully understand this process, because that way, anytime you see a picture and you say, I want to turn that into a quilt, you will have the tools to do it. And that's the best thing. I want you to feel like you can do anything and it will work out well for you. And I want you to be proud of yourself and try even more things, because these things build on each other. All right, so I have tick marks at a ½ inch on either side. Now I'm going to come back, put the ruler at the tick marks, and I'm going to go ahead. I really believe in this measurement. Do I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So 22 strips and 22 strips. 44 strips for the length of the quilt. But this is a neat process because it allows you to break up the quilt. It just gives you a new perspective and to try some really awesome things with coloring, shading, all of that. So, do you see the lines now? Now, what I suggest is you print out 2 copies of everything. That way you can cut one of them out and make this strip. So this would be, since this says tree leaves, really you would be doing the sky, and that you would have a strip of blue. So don't worry about the leaves because they're going to be added later. But this is the one that most looks like. I've changed a few things, but this looks the most like what I want to do. And then we're going to add the great blue heron. But see how this water is more placid? So we're going to have more ripples because that creates that metallic look. And I'm even going to use some gold lame to really show the reflective property of that. But see this one right here that was an inspiration? Isn't that wonderful? Now they're doing different size thickness strips. You can do that if you want. I'm going to do them consistent because I want to be able to stop and start based on the color. And I may even stop and start at a slight angle so it doesn't just have a squared edge where you stop and start. So we're using part of this, part of the way the sky looks here, where this is giving us the inspiration of this, gave me some of this background inspiration. This gave me the idea of how that pier could look headed out to, and the see where I got the leaves idea. Then this one gave me the whole big body. I loved this, the sun streaking through the clouds, but your sun has to be at a higher point during the day. And I loved this right here. So I said, well, I can't do this streaking through. That'll have to be another quilt. And then this is the great blue heron to give you an idea of how to make a great blue heron. And as I also said, these birds that are flying in the sky and the great blue heron, I may print onto that printer fabric, the fabric you can run through your inkjet printer and it will print the picture and then you cut it out and applique it on. So I may do that just to make it a little easier. Or I could just do a lot of hand um, embroidery to get the feathery look. So I'm going to decide. But so anyway, I think this is a pretty good, it's going to give you plenty of little strips. And I have, the reason I thought of doing this is because we did a simple version of this 3 years ago when I held this up at the retreat. I got a lot of oohs and ahs. And it's funny because they thought there was a moon there that was not supposed to be a moon, but now I call it the moon. So, but anyway, another, I'm going to have all the lines so you don't have to do this, but I could also just keep folding this page down and that way get the 1/2 inch strips. Just, I have a bone edge folder. Folder. It sounds funny, but where is it? Well, I'll use my wooden iron. But if you want to do this, just make sure you get the pages even. Hold on, let me make sure. If you want these to be your lines, everything has to be very even. And since we know it does come out evenly, you can do this and run this along each fold. Then fold it up yet again. This is to make the 1/2-inch lines. So I'm showing you 2 ways, the more impatient way and the more, actually, it's very hard to do this whole piece to fold it to that 1/2 inch. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to come in here and do it half at a time. Because with my arthritis, it's getting harder and harder to do. But this wooden iron is great for folding these. Then I'm going to come and do this one up and run that along here. And that way I'll have all of my lines. Make sure you bring it to the middle so it's nice and even. So now when I pull this out, I'll have all the right fold marks. And then you will, this takes a little bit of prep. Come on. All right, so here are all the 1/2-inch fold lines, all the way up and down. See them on the back? The fold lines. All right, so I'm going to make sure I get these uploaded and on our Groups IO site, and I'll have all the lines on them. Then I'm going to, this should already be on the Groups IO site. And then I was going to show you, this is, all right, this is a good time to make my background. And I just love using foundation piecing and love using muslin. I keep a bolt of it handy. All right, and we know it's going to be 22 inches from the size of 2 lengths of paper. So 1, 2. So I don't need it that long. I try to always make this a couple inches longer, a couple inches wider. Because things have a way, when you build on this, it'll tend to draw up a little. So this is about 26 or 20. I need 24 inches. This might be 28 inches. Now for the width, I need 2 widths of the paper. They're 8.5, so I need 17. 8.5 and 8.5. That's 12. I'll need 12 inches plus 5 inches. This is 12 plus 9. So this is a good size. Although now I'm worried about this end. Hold on just a second. All right. I need it to be 12 and 12 is 24. Okay. Let me cut this part off. All right. So here is the background. And what I'm going to do for this background is turn on my iron. And this will get you started. I went today and grabbed a bunch of fabrics from starting at the top with some nice blues. I've got some blues for the part of the sky. I've got the dark brown for the back, for the tree line that's going to be there. And then I went and grabbed a whole mess of yellows, oranges. So this is how I start to work on a quilt, is I go and grab tons. That's why my room stays so messy. But I tell you what, look what I found that might work pretty good for that dock. Remember we talked about using some embroidery fabric in this? So I'm excited. I'm excited. All right. So now let me get my stuff out of the way so I can do some ironing. All right. Move all my tools. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spray starch on this, because if it's starched, it will hold its shape better. Somebody let me know if y'all are still here, because I haven't seen any writing in a while, and I just want to make sure I haven't lost it. All right. All right. Now the starch has probably soaked in pretty good. Oh, good. Good, good, good. Oh, y'all are so amazing. Okay, so pull this forward. So now I've starched it. My iron is hot. And this is actually it's foundation piecing, I guess, if you want to call it that. But I think I am going to try to do, I'm still deciding if I'm going to do quilt as you go or my normal collage quilting. All right, so now I've got a half mark that way. Now I'm going to make a half mark this way, which I'll have 4/4. And I want to show you compared to a piece of paper. See how I have extra here? So, okay, because I want it plenty big enough because I can always trim it later. So now, if you open this out, especially if being starched, it'll hold that better. Here. Oh, let me iron this line out of it right here. That's getting in the way. All right, so now it's in 4/4. So each page would easily fit in one of the quarters. Now, just to make it a wee bit easier, I'm going to take this fabric. I'm going to fold it back up like a quarter, which means it's in 4/4, so it's folded twice. Then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to press it at the halfway point this way. This is just a trick to help keep the biggest thing you've got to worry about here is keeping everything straight and accurate. So that's why just check your edges, take your time. So now we'll take and fold it the other way. You always go back and forth between folding it one way and folding it the other way. And you can even put your hand under, make sure the fabric hasn't done anything wonky inside there. Just make sure you get the sharpest of edges. All right, and this is probably as far as I would go with ironing this big of a piece. But now I want to show you. Now it's 16 sections. So you know if you're keeping your quilt straight, because you don't want your water to end up running off the edge of your page. So now your foundation is ready. So the next thing you're going to do, which I can't show you because I have to finish drawing lines on this and scan it into my computer and put it on the site. But the next thing you would do, you're going to print out 2 copies of the pattern. One you can cut up, the other you leave whole as your guide. And then I would actually cut this line off so that I know exactly what piece I'm working on. And I probably will number them too. So everything is numbered. Now, if you want to work on fusibles, you can do that. But what I'm planning on doing is, even though this is a 1-inch line, a 1/2-inch line up here, I plan on making that strip 1 inches because I'm going to do probably a flip and sew or either iron under one edge. And so then I don't want this raw edged applique. There are so many, if you look at this, there are so many strips. I feel like it needs to be kept a little bit neater. Okay. So I think I've got us ready. By next week, I'm going to have a few strips made just to show you what that looks like. And then we'll make a strip or 2 together to add to it. And this is when you can use a little glue. I would recommend a school glue. If you use tacky glue, it's hard to sew through. But I'm wondering what side, this side might be the best for the dock boards. Isn't that neat? But remember this, those dock boards need to be made in strips. That makes me wonder. I guess I do want to keep the effect. I love the effect here, that it's not just cookie cutter. The sun kind of sparkles around, and whatever this was in the water, it sparkles around. So I think this dock is going to be cut into long strips, little pieces, and it'll kind of move around that way. So I think that is good, and you'll all have a copy of the inspirations that you will refer to. And I'll tell you this, the leaves up here come from this one. The idea of having the light bounce around comes from this one. The making the ripples seem like liquid gold comes from this one and this one. The main components come from this one, and then the blue heron that we're going to put on there. Okay, so I hope that makes some sense. I hope that you understand. And this is when it's a good time to start looking for fabrics and things. Remember, when you look at this, now this only has land really over here, and I put more in because I wanted it to look like this and this. Whoops, to show them good. But that's going to be almost black. I don't know if I'd make it black. I think a brown that's almost black. And then don't forget the grasses, seagrasses. We're putting in quite a few. They're going to be done with machine embroidery. So that's going to be fun too. You know what? If we're going to do machine embroidery, I think I'm not going to quilt it as I go, because I don't want to do embroidery over all the quilting. So I think I'm just going to stitch each row down, but quilt it when I'm done, because I just saw that and thought, oh, good point. And like this way, if you want to sew the birds down by machine, you can, because then it won't be quilted yet. And then when I quilt it, I want to go around each bird so that they have a little sense of a 3-dimension, and definitely quilt around this. Yeah, and you know what? Even if I use a printed fabric, that I'm still going to want to do some machine embroidery to show all those beautiful little feathers. All right, so that, I think I worked it out. For me, I'm not going to quilt as I go. All righty, so now I think it's show and tell time. Oh, and then, well, let me show you this real fast, and then we'll do our show and tell. But let me pull you right down here. I am not that good at hand embroidery. I want to start out with that as my first thing I talk about. And these, I had a hard time getting these. I had a hard time getting them even. Tension is a problem for me. So now I'm going to get one of these colors and show you how I do this. All right. There is another flower element I've designed for right here. And, okay, let me get my needle threaded. Okay. Now, sometimes with some of these, since I'm not good yet at thread tensioning and things, I might have my own little way that I deal with that. So please be aware of that. Like the way they did these delphiniums is they did not have those the anchor threads in a fixed position. because they are so good with their tensioning, but I had to make them fixed. So, all right. So let me show you. Oops, see how this, I've got to figure out a way to hide that. It's a knot. Well, let me see. Oh, 1 second. I thought it was my stitches hanging out, but it was some spare threads too. But, you know, the thing is, this is 3-dimension, which I love it, but I'm not good at it yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up at where I think the base of the flower is going to be, right here. And then, whoops, let me grab my thread. Another thing is they have been using, to get really definite hand stitching patterns, they've been using all 3 strands of the floss, but I didn't want to use 3 strands of this. All right, so now what I did is I came up in this hole, I went down, oops, I forgot to do something. Well, it's too late now. What I've been doing is bringing my knot to the top, making 2 small stitches where they'll be hidden, and then I can cut my knot away. This time I forgot, my knot is down here, so it's just going to have to stay, and that's okay. That's no big deal. I was trying to learn a new thing, but it's kind of hard when your habit was have knots on the back. What does it matter? Okay, that's why I tell you, it's hard for me to be proper, I tell you. All right, so when I put these anchoring threads on here, I want to make sure that they're going to stay taut and not move around. So what I do is come back down in that hole like that and make a nice tight stitch. And then I come back down here. And this one is going to be 3. This is going to be a weaving with 3 leads. So I come in here. Now, so they don't do this. Mine is more clumsy than theirs would be. But you see my 3 threads? So now I'm going to come up. And the first stitch I do is going to be at the top because that's where I ended up. And what I want to do is to come up between these 3 threads. All right, let's see. Okay, so I come up here and I'm now between the first and second. Then I go back down between the second and third. Okay, there's my first stitch. Let me pull this a little closer this way. I want to be able to get some. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm on this side. I'm going to come back over. And actually, I was not supposed to stitch that down. I was supposed to leave it loose and free. But until I get better at tensioning, I did it that way. Because that way these little threads stay taut. Now, since I went just over and under for the middle, now I'm going to go over the first one, come under the middle, and over the third. Okay. Whoop, yeah. Okay. And what you do, instead of pulling it tight, just push it up. Now, since I went over, under, over, now I'm going to go under, over the middle, and back under the third. Now, let me show you. And remember, don't pull it tight. Take and push the threads up. You want to keep them firm. But when she did it, actually, you know what? I should show you this. She did it over a needle. So she had this needle in there and she use that to go over and under. But I'm not that good at it yet. So I'm going to try it again. But for on here, I thought I could show it more clearly, although I'm showing you wrong. So it should be a needle. Let me see. Where is that one? So she would start with the needle like this way, and it would come out there. And so she went around and then did the weaving. So mine's kind of the same thing, but I can't. This one was done loose and then I tightened it so it has some play, so it looks more 3 dimension. But right now, I just want you to see what the weaving is like. So I did under, over, under. Now I do over, under, over. So it's just weaving back and forth. Okay, that came out. And make sure you don't get too snug. Keep pushing the threads towards the top so you get some width. But see, I finished over here. So I come under now for the next row. Under, and she did this, which my hands are a little clumsy, but she used the wrong end of the needle because it doesn't tend to stick into the threads. It goes under and over better. So you see how I went under, then over the middle, and under here. So it's just a matter of weaving, weaving, weaving. And I'm going to show you some where she does certain stitches on straws and different things like that. But now I ended up under, so I'm going to go over, under, over. Just pull it loosely and push it up. And if you get really good, you can keep it very nice and smooth, but that's not always easy. But with my arthritis, sometimes I have to make accommodations. I'm not as nimble as I used to be. All right. So you just keep weaving back and forth and back and forth. But if you are good at this, try using the needle and not anchoring the thread up top so that this can actually be pulled out. Then you just take a little anchor stitch and you've got space under it to kind of give it a more 3 dimensional look. See how, whoops, see how these, I can put my finger under. And this I'll be able to as long as I don't stitch in any further. But now I'll go under, over, and under. So, and I like this better. There, I've done 2 of them with just the 2 threads that you weave. But they were harder. Having this 3rd thread kind of anchors them. So it's good to try both so you can learn them both. But I definitely prefer this one because it definitely holds the thread better. But getting it a smooth edge, like some of where I did it, all of a sudden there'd be a bump out. Some of the threads didn't get pulled tight enough. Hi, Mare. Hi, beautiful. So anyway, but this is 3 dimensional. Um, this is 3 dimensional hand embroidery. Now, what I'm going to do is come over. So now you just continue pushing the threads tightly because these are pretty snug. So you'll think, oh, I'm almost at the end. But if you push them up tight, there's more room to do. So just do them nice and tight. Sometimes every time I had to put another piece of thread on because it uses up a good amount of your thread. But now what I'm going to do is show you how to do the bullion flowers. See these bullions here? So I'm going to show you how to do that. Now I'm going to take my needle off here. I've got others I can use, but there are some hand embroidery needles that get real wide at the end. That doesn't work as good. So let me take this. I am going to put all 6 strands on this because it shows the making of it better. You can kind of see what I'm doing. If I can get them, come on, come on. No, don't think I'm getting it. Let me see. Come on. I don't know if this is going to work, but I can try. Well, let me see. I think this has too small of a tip on it. Ah, shoot. Let me try this again. Okay, let me trim this off at a slant. If you trim the threads off at a slant, it's often easier to get it through the needle. Thought I had it. If I'm doing a lot of this, sometimes I'll run a little bit of glue over the ends of the threads to just really hold them together. All right, hold on. I might not be able to fit. I like the size of this needle, but it might not quite work. I'm going to do it off screen a little bit because it makes me nervous and then it makes it harder for me to do. I think I got it. I think I have it. Come on, yay! And just make sure. Yeah, I've got it. All right, so now I'm going to cut this. And I'm going to do it right so you can see how not to have a, hold on just a second. I have been eating so many mandarins that my fingernail on this hand has gotten discolored because I use that finger to start to peel them. All right, now I'm going to do a bouillon. So pretend that there's a little leaflet thing here. Or I'll tell you what, I'll do it over here where there is one. All right, so what I'm going to do is to not have a knot on the back, I'm going to come up away from where I'm going to go in from the top, come up away from where I'm going to be stitching like this. And the knot, whoops, there's no knot, but pretend there was a knot there. Then I'm going to make 2 tiny stitches that are going to be covered by the flower I'm going to make. But 2 small stitches and pull them snug like that. Okay. Now, those 2 stitches will anchor it, so then I can cut this away. That's how you keep from having knots on the back. Now, to do this bouillon, I'm going to first stitch how far out I want the bouillon to be. Oops, let me come down where I can see it. So it's going to go right across here. So I come up here, then I go back down here, but bring the needle back up where I went in the first time. Okay, so I've come up out here, come back to the starting point, but then poke back out at the far away point. Then what I do is pull the needle out far enough to hold my hand here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me do two more or one more. Okay. Now, so I've got these beautifully wrapped threads on the needle. I hold them with this hand, the threads, gently pull the needle through. This is where you don't want a big eye of the needle because you've got to try to get those threads, keep them neatly wrapped, but get them off the needle. And it also helps, don't pull too tight when you're wrapping those threads because you have to get them off the needle. And this is where it would be helpful if I had something to help me pull the needle out. I might have to let the threads loosen up a little. It's hard when you have big hands. Okay. Come on, threads. But you use this other hand to kind of coax those threads off the needle while trying to keep them lined up and neat and tidy. All right. So I got them through, and I try to be really careful because I want them to stay lined up pretty. Okay, and they look pretty good to me. So you pull the thread through, keep the bullion wrap good, and make sure you pull it through neatly. So now, let me show you. See the wrap right there? See how they're all wrapped around? Then, so you were out here with your needle. Now you're going to go back down right at the base of the stem. Right like this. But you see how it takes holding the little threads and negotiating them off the needle, keeping them wound tightly enough, and there you are. So that's a bullion stitch, and it's great for making like a little bud, things like that. But some of these, the one thing I told you about that I was worried about, with these being more three-dimensional, they're more subject to being damaged. With these being loose and being able to be pulled away, if I were to pull this stitch right here, it would be hard to ever get it back in line. That's the only thing that's worrying me about this new three-dimensional. So now I need to get my thread back out of there, okay? So I'm going to come up kind of under the middle of that bullion and make one tiny stitch. One tiny stitch. And then come up under a little bit. Make another tiny stitch. Another tiny stitch. And this is enough to anchor those stitches. So then I come underneath and trim it. Okay. And then I can go back to the first knot I made. Let me see. The first knot I made was over here. See that first knot? I made it away, then did two tiny stitches. And I just pull gently, nip it right even. Don't cut your fabric. And there you go. So that's technically the right way. Now, next week, I'm going to be working on this flower here and this leaf. So I'm going to show you how to do a big leaf and with, I think it's called a straight stitch. And then these are going to be very interesting, but it's more of the 3D. Now, let me tell you real quickly. Let me see if I can find the address of the site for this person. And if anybody wants me to draw out the pattern to make it easy on you, I will. But let me see. I want to find her site. Give her credit. So let me bring up. It's fun. It's something different, you know? And I'm going to, at some point, I would like to do embroidery on a shirt or a jacket. And I thought, let's try something new. I love keeping up with what's the latest thing that's going around. All right, so let me bring up here. I wanted to bring up a new window. Let me see if I can find it. History. Because if I can bring this to you, it will make it easy on you or for you. Wait, there it is. Okay. So I'm bringing her up in a different window and I'm going to give you this shortcut. Okay. Sometimes I worry if I give you this shortcut that you'll go ahead and try to do it. But you know what? That's okay. You know what you can do or not. And okay, enter there. And this is the one I've been watching and I really like. It's not too difficult, but it has that 3D look. So I hope you will enjoy that. And nowadays, these embroidery flosses, you can get some inexpensive ones pretty easily. And I know they're not as good as some of the old fashioned. I was telling Mark, these things used to be such a treasure to me. Back in the late 70s, I did some of the cross stitch that was all the rage back then. And each little hank that I bought was precious. So, all right, now let's do show and tell. I think we did everything that we came to do. Oh, and on our way, right after we do show and tell, I've got a new thing I'm going to be doing, which is what do I have planned for this week? Because I'm finding it helps me stay focused because I tend to get distracted or sit on the couch too much or whatever. If I have a to do list, it helps. So I thought I'd share that with you. All right, let's go to show and tell. All right. Make sure everything's plugged in good. All righty. Oops, stay still. Sorry we're running a little over, but with our hiccups of getting on here, it didn't surprise me. Okay. Show and tell. Okay. Let's see. Who are we going to start with? Miss Bonnie. I wish now I had left all of her works on there because I would show you how many things she actually got finished. And this is one of them that she got finished. And it's her dragon. And I'm sorry, the picture came in so small, I'm not able to enlarge it the way I would have liked to. But she did a great job. All right. And then here is one of her block exchanges, or maybe this is a block a week. I am not sure. Bonnie, if Bonnie's still there, she can tell you. She had an SCA meeting today, so that's neat. I love that she has all these activities. Okay, and then I'm going to go back. All right. So that was Miss Bonnie's. Now let me see. Don't think we have too many things, but oh, Julie sent some great. I love these. I love seeing your work and things you do. Look at this. This is a wanderer, Ron the Trapper. He traps, so he's walking between his traps to see what he got. Isn't that great? I love that. I don't think I've never tried a person in a quilt. I don't, besides my grandsons, but in a landscape scene, how wonderful. All right, and then this one she made for her grandson, Todd's quilt. I love that. He's out hunting. Isn't that wonderful? And I love how she displays them using a wonderful stick from nature. Isn't that wonderful? Way to go, Miss Julie. Okay. Now let's see who's next. Since Linda came by today, I always keep this in her folder. This is a needle felting mouse she made, and I think it's so cute. She's so talented. I loved seeing Linda today. Okay, now let's see. And show our Mary her final block of her English paper piecing, which she did beautifully. Learned a new skill, nothing flat. Way to go. Okay. Now, and in fact, Mark is trying to get me some more card stock so that I can get ready to start my new. Oh, Melanie sent the cutest pictures. Let's see. Here is Willow, who loves to be wherever mommy is every moment. Look at that. While she's sewing. How cute is that? Aw, isn't that sweet? What would we do without our pets? This is her husband Don's Valentine's table runner. I think that's wonderful. Way to go. So for taking this up later in life during his retirement, he's picked it up so fast. Way to go. Thank you for those pictures, hon. All right, now who is next? I don't know if this is a new one or not. Oh, this is the picture that Mitty showed me that was at a patient of hers home who has a quilt using the upholstery fabric in the landscape. That's a brilliant idea, and I loved her sharing this because it gives me a great example to follow. Isn't that wonderful? So thank you so much for that. All right. And then, oh, Patricia Fry's got to show this one. This is her wonderful Valentine. She has this wonderful toy truck that's been beautifully reconditioned, and she decorates it for all the seasons. I love that. Way to go. I love it. Thank you, Miss Pat. We're thinking of you and sweet husband. All right, now let's see. Show and tell. All right. Miss Melton's doing wonderfully with all of her work. And let's see. I don't think. No. Let me go back. Okay. I think that is it for today. So I know everyone's been busy, and as we pick up our pace of creativity, we'll have more and more. I know I have been trying so hard to finish a few projects, and it just seems like I'm in quicksand. And the harder I try, the behinder I get. So, and you know what? When I finish this today, I'm going to take a little break because I need to do some dot painting. I can feel it in my bones. So let me come back to y'all, and hopefully I'll have some very new pictures next week. And let me close out all of these things. There you are. Okay. So I hope everyone is well and healthy and happy. Oh, talking about this week, I got to hold myself accountable. Like I was going to walk every day. I let cold air and rain stop me from walking. I got to get back out there and walk. I want to finish my New Year's project that I did with Mary Mayhem, the mystery. I want to, now that I have the last of the fabric, I want to finish the sparrow quilt, get it on the quilt frame. It was so nice to quilt the heart table runner. I hadn't quilted anything on the frame in a while, and I missed it. It was fun. At first, now, when I tried to get it all set up, it gave me a fit till I got it all readjusted. But then it was fun. All right. I want to get together the stencil quilt, the stencil painted quilt that I'm doing in the rainbow colors. I've made the paper, pardon me, I've got hiccups. I made the little piece, took pictures of each block and then printed it on cardstock so I can get the exact layout I want. I want to get that done. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So I want to get that done. Then I have a swirl quilt that I want to finish for my daughter-in-law. It was a Christmas tree swirl quilt that I made 3 years ago. She doesn't have it yet. So I want to get that ready for and get it mailed out. I'm getting very anxious to work on some of my UFOs. They're sitting upstairs in my frame room. I look at them every day when I walk by, and it just kills me not to have them finished. I have been working on cleaning up the frame room, and boy, it feels good. Okay, because after that, then I've got to come down and finish this room too. All right, then I need to go in and get my hearing aids calibrated again. I'm loving them. They've changed my life. So I need to do the next step, which is have them turned fully up. They were only 80%, so I'm going to get them fully turned up. For fun, because I said, hey, if you put a list of chores that you have to do, then you better list some fun things. For fun, I want to paint another dot mandala. I want to make some more paper beads and start work again on my bobbin lace. Now, if you have a list this week of what you want to do or what you need to do or what you want to get motivated to do, if you have a list of what fun things you want to do, then, the Italian, yes, the Italian tiles has been sitting there for 3 months, forlorn and neglected. And I look at it every time I go in that room. That I can't wait to get back to. So here is my email address, our time to quilt at twc.com. If you have a list of what things you want to get done this week, what things you want to have fun with this week, send them to me by email. If you want, I can share them on here next week. Let's see how we did. Let's help each other stay motivated to have more successes, because the more we get done, the more that we want to get done. So anyway, and you know what I've learned also so far as doing this room cleaning, because I want to get everything organized so I can put my hand on it instantly, because sometimes I want to do a certain thing and I go, but I don't know where this is. And it stops me. So I want to be able to, time is running out. I want to get as much done as I can. So send me an email of things you want to get done and some things you want to play with, and I'll share them with the group. So thank you so much. Take good care of yourself and do something just for you, because if we take care of ourselves, we can take care of the others we love and take care of things that we don't necessarily enjoy as much but need to be done. So have a great week. Move around, get your bones moving, and get in whatever part of your body that gives you trouble. Try to exercise gently, and we'll start all next week with a bunch more, and let's see how much we get done. Take good care, and happy Valentine's Day this past Friday, and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye-bye. Take good care. Y'all are the best. Bye-bye, everybody.